How many of you have taken exams? Pre-marital insights. And I have coined that phrase that is often heard from fairy tales to real life. And they lived happily ever. You know, marriage is one of those things that is a great longing for everyone. Nobody just sets out and says from their childhood and to youth, adulthood, and say, I have no intention of being married or getting into a relationship. Of course, along the way, people make choices that cause them to either live celibate lives or whatever it is that they want to be part of. But this is a desire. Oftentimes, you will see children with no one directing them or instructing them, playing these games with roles of father and mother, mommy and daddy, or family, and they seem to be training themselves for what will be. And you grow up knowing at some point this is going to be. But the unfortunate thing is, we get to a point where we believe this is about to be, and we seem unprepared. Students here know that you join year one, semester one, weeks one, you start studying, right? You know at the end of the day there is going to be an exam. No student in his mind thinks they're just going to walk into an exam on the day of the exam, right? No one preparing for a marathon in their rightful minds waits for the day of the marathon to dress up and then go and start running. People practice, they train to make sure that they are ready. Those who are prepared for the exam, they read, they revise, they have discussion to make sure they are ready. Yet somehow, when it comes to relationship and marriage, people kind of are uneasy about what is going to happen, and they just find themselves sliding into marriage. Last Sabbath we had a celebration. Those who were with us in Namaingo, anyone? 30 years of the Manganese. Now, I would like to believe that very many of you who have been below 30. And those of you who are above 30 might be slightly above 30. How many of us, but you may not be comfortable, fine, but if you know that you're below 30, I can tell you there's a family, a couple that has been married for 30 years in Kyambogo. And I had the chance to look at some of the pictures from their wedding day. And I saw Elder Kanyana is not here. There's a picture of Elder Kanyana that I saw and I was like, wow, this is how he looked about 30 years ago. When you see him now, you might think that he has always been like that. No. Should have been around. Yeah. I saw a very nice hunk. I was like, okay. That's how he hit it, right? Because he looked very different. I'm like, okay. Not so bad. I saw them in these pictures of 30 years ago. I'm like, now I see how, yeah. I saw pictures of Pastor Kajam. My God, 30 years ago, and I'm like, wow. They had their time. We're going to have a phrase that Tatakula. They were hunks. And now look at it, 30 years and they're still growing together with us. How did you get to this? Elder man was smaller than you. Smaller than him. But very smart young man. It was like the son, Joshua, yeah, small. You saw this son was part of the choir that was singing. Could even see the resemblance if you were king. And he actually says that is how he was around that age also. So you now know how I think so. I think so. He's saying it is not worth that we simply glide or slide into marriage. Maybe you read about this in books, you watch movies, and one person is struggling, the other is struggling, they meet along the way, they have issues, but then the movie ends with a wedding and that phrase. And they lived happily ever. And then the movie ends. But in reality, in life, that is the beginning. The wedding is the beginning. It is not the end. It is just the beginning. It is not the culmination of your lives. So the other things that you don't see in the movie, or the things that no movie has been able to portray, is what most people find the point and say, hey, I thought supposed to be happily ever after. And say, how are you supposed to live happily ever after? How do you determine that? When two people are getting together and accommodating one another. And happily ever after has so many connotations, but this is what I want to read. Healthy and loving relationships involve honesty, trust, respect, and open communication between partners. And they take effort and compromise from both people. There is no imbalance of power. Feel retaliation and share decisions. Yeah? Happily ever after. And you ask yourself, are you able to get into a relationship that you're honest about? You trust the other person? Yesterday somebody shared a clip, and it's about marriage and the sanctuary. And he said, just as we have the Holy of Holies in the sanctuary, we have the Holy of Holies in marriage. And so the other thing is that who goes into the Holy of Holies? The high priest. And you ask yourself, who goes into the Holy of Holies in a marriage? Okay. What is the Holy of Holies? That's a good one. And I think you're targeting something. Sexual intercourse. Yeah? When you're before your spouse. Some are looking with sad faces. Some seem to be excited. But that is the gift for the married. Maybe you don't want to hear about it. It's okay. But you don't want to get into a situation that escapes you and you find yourself in a situation that you are defiling your body because it belongs to God until the Lord blesses you with someone. Amen? So, before you get married, maybe you're dating. Your intention is to have marriage. The question is, what is marriage? What is that thing that you actually want to get into? Anyone? How many of us are seeing these words for the first time? Define, I'm sure you've seen it in very many countless exams you've sat before. Marriage you've had. And somehow, each one of us seems to have an idea of what it is. I know you know what it is. But if you're in a relationship, and your intent is to have a marriage, you need to define what marriage is. Yeah? There's somebody who's in the previous discussion, somebody who was it you or someone else, but it was him. Somebody was talking about we have very poor financial literacy and poor financial dealings. That someone borrows money and don't know whether they've actually borrowed or you've given them a loan or a grant. You can't also define it. But money has exchanged hands, there is no record of it that has exchanged hands. And then later on you say, well, guy Yanziba. How? That person cheated me because you're not clear, you're not intentional about it. You know what is happening, but you've not defined what is happening. And so when things don't work out, people easily jump ship. You've had those situations. So if you're in a relationship and the intent is that you want to get married, amen, please define marriage. There are people who are comfortable staying or hanging around you as your friends, and that is all they ever want. And it might be the marriage you're looking for. You're laughing. The truth is that each one of us has a different understanding of what marriage is. Even though there's a definition that we might agree on. But in a relationship, we need to appreciate that we come from different backgrounds and different understandings of the same principles that define what marriage is. And so, as you're in this relationship, have open discussions, conversations about your ideas of what marriage is and what your expectations are from your spouse. There are people who find themselves in relationships that are set up by their parents. True story? And so they don't know what is happening, whether they are part of a treaty or an agreement. But they're getting into a situation that they have defined as marriage. Right? I'm sure you've heard those stories. Or you've seen people who have experienced these things. I'm his best man. And so let's just agree that to have this bond, my son is going to marry your daughter. I don't know whether my son is going to love the daughter or not. But that is our relationship. And so we want to propagate it. And without Elisha's input, he's bound to that relationship. Sorry? I'm just using that example. I'm not saying that's what is going to happen. I don't know whether it's a girl or anything. I'm just saying. Okay? But two people must be able to meet and discuss these things, even when it seems to be arranged. Your parents might have said, but you must come to a common understanding of what it is that you're getting into and defining as marriage. And what are your expectations? And there are people who simply either say this, there are people who simply think marriage is about two friends living together, and others think it is the families coming together. Others realize it is a spiritual equation. Huh? Yeah, guys, let me tell you something. Let me put So be very careful. There are people in situations that have been told. Elder, you remember the story. One of our members here who had a Muslim girl, you remember. And they had a child. Now, when it came to wedding, like visiting the parents and all the ceremonies that come with it, the girl's parents said, that's not an issue. You're a Muslim. The other guy is an Adventist. That equation alone is enough. At least, you get the idea. At least you've given birth, or you have had a child with a Seventh Adventist man. Some that had not happened in their family. So everyone stays in their religion. If the father wants the children to go to church, he will be taking them. But for you, stay here. The reverse also happens. Somebody said, yes, I know you're Seventh-day, but me, I'm a Muslim, and I'm the man. So those children belong. Unless you have evidence that states otherwise. We have nothing to do except to follow. So please, discuss with your intending spouse and have a common understanding of what it is that you're actually creating or getting into as marriage. Openly. The first slide I was talking about, we need honesty, we need truth, we need trust, and open communication. So those are the things that you need to sort out. Don't slide into marriage. Are we together? For others, again, he said it is more about legal. You've seen people who have made attempts, get a K1 visa, and go to the US and become a citizen through by marriage. I think in other countries, so you become a citizen, but through marriage, but you're not married to the person. Like what's going on? Is it an arrangement or is it a marriage? For some, it's just a relationship which is about sex and emotional satisfaction. Once they have that, they are sorted. The other things, none of their business. Young people, please understand what it is that you're getting into. Because you slide into marriage, these things catch up with you soon or later. Many times it is sooner than you realized. Then this one is that you need to explore psychological health. Of late, this has been an issue, mental health. And somebody once said that all of us are mad, but the degree of madness varies. So you might be getting into a situation where two mad people are about to get married. And you don't even realize that they are mad. Or supposedly one mad person is about to marry. But don't you realize that they're about to marry either another mad being or one whom they're going to torture. Explore psychological health. The truth is that nobody is perfect. Are we together? Nobody is perfect. So don't expect that this person you intend to marry is perfect. But take time to understand and study this person, how they deal with anxiety, for example, how they deal with depression, okay? And understand the baggage that they come with. Many times you're going to see a very normal being in in church. They'll probably minister and preach. But this person has baggage that you are not aware of. There are people who have been traumatized in their childhood. I got to know this somebody, and I was asking someone else, this girl is very beautiful. How come she's not married? She looks a humble person, she does this. And so they opened up to me and said, you know, it's not for the lack of trying. And it's not because no one has approached her. But each time it seems to get serious with her, she cuts off, breaks off with the man. Why? Because of a traumatic experience she had at an earlier stage in her life. So when it seems to be getting serious that this person actually wants to be with me, there is baggage that triggers in her head something that she has carried on. And you don't know why and why it is happening. And we're saying, look, you do not have to fight so hard to fix the issues, but understand that there are issues and know how to deal with them. Many times you'll easily walk out in a relationship on someone who would be very prospective because you have not understood these issues. Take time to understand. There are people who have triggers. And so you want to know, how do I avoid those triggers if I'm to be with this person? Then you can live happily ever. Because if you don't understand that, chances are it will come back to haunt you in your relationship. Person might seem all well and all nice and all understanding until you do something that you'll also be shocked and surprised at their response. I had another story. Young lady. It is still ongoing, so I do not want to overspill the details of the story. And you have to saying, oh, what's elder trying to say or deal with? But somebody who was so disturbed, they've married 1 year, 2 years, no children, 3 years, no children, 5 years, no children. And one day, the lady comes back home, 8 years in marriage, and the man is not there. Try to call his phones, all of them are off. Somehow he managed to transfer all the property into the wife's names before he left. He said, what happened to him, to the man? Made announcements looking for him. It's now about 4 years, they're still looking for him. Psychological health. People simply came around to start saying, but you knew this was happening. How could you as well not have known this? And the Lord was saying, I had no clue that was happening. But there were triggers. Saying, no, it was there. You would have figured it out if you had paid attention. So learn to appreciate one another's psychological state and know how to deal with one another mentally. There is no devil in the characters of your spouse, as there might be no Christ in that character. You choose how that will reflect in your relationship. The next one I want to mention is managing time. Time management. It seems a very simple thing. but it can be difficult. In some cases, breaking relationships. And I'm not just talking about time management for activities, but also in how you relate and deal with one another. So find ways to incorporate quality time with your spouse or partner or intending spouse each day. When you're in a relationship, you're courting, it always seems obvious that you're going to call one another, right? At some point in the day. But be intentional that you're actually calling this person every day. Make it a point that even in marriage, you will do it. Yeah? It is only as good as you're able to maintain it. Many times, we invest our time in the courtship. And then in the marriage, you don't. So if somebody asked, how come the courtship was so good, but the marriage is so bad? You say, after all, namulete wange, now it is done. Yate yajja willingly. Yakkiriza. The person accepted to move in with you, you've married, now you don't have time for them. And then the person remembers, but before you had time to call me during lunch hour, you had time to call me during the evenings, before you go to sleep. Now I can't even talk to you yet we are together. But you practice this habit in courtship and maintain. If you have not practiced it, you might be faking it. It's very possible that the person is faking it so as to get what they want. And as soon as they get what they want, they forget about it. So be intentional that you're actually trying to make sure that your fiancé or your spouse has quality time with you and they know this is what we're actually walking into. Okay? Somebody told me many times, gents, can you hear me properly? You're going to lose out on these ladies because you don't have their time. Ladies, true or false? False. No, I'm telling the gents to understand and that many times you're going to lose out on these nice ladies because you don't have time for them. And I wanted the ladies to confirm if that is true or false. Sorry? Is it true? I'm saying, the gents, you're going to miss out on these beautiful flowers because you do not create time for them. You don't create quality time with them, for them. Anti-behavior. You see? What you're thinking is, we are doing the lesson study together, Bible study together, so that is enough. That we have finished, right? The whole day you're in church, you're sitting together, therefore you manage your time with this person. Not so. There is you spending your time around that person. But quality time is different. And it is between you and that person. Don't get confused about the time you're spending together in church. But where you say, it is me time, and this person is time. The two of you talking about one another or about yourselves. You see? Soccer. So you either cut out the soccer or maintain the soccer and leave this person. And therein also lies the compromise. Okay? Because For me, I also used to love soccer. And then I loved hockey. And the challenge with hockey is that even when you're watching on TV, all the sessions, hockey is very famous and powerful in Australia. India, Pakistan, Netherlands, they have it as well. The field hockey, not ice hockey. Now to follow those leagues, he has an idea. Right now in Australia it must be past midnight. So for you to be following hockey, or cricket, it is at a very prime time here in Uganda. You understand? So you either cut it out, or you maintain the other one and cut this one out. If you're following football, these days maybe it is not so much. Yeah. By the way, I'm talking about a time before mobile phones became very famous, the way they are like this. Like you can watch it here and where. You had to go to a particular place. For example, when I was studying, we had to go to nursery. Actually it is Brewer. Not Blue Nile. I know Blue Nile. I'm talking about Brewer. Brewer is the white block next to, it is behind the kitchen. It is part of Mandela. Yeah, it was part of, yes, the other block, I think it's an administration block. That's where there was another famous hockey fan. And he was not controlling the screen. So it was obvious. Football people would be around the mess, the dining hall, but cricket, hockey would have to go the other side. So imagine moving from Kulubia to go the other side. Now if you want time was a premium. If you want to find me at Kulubia Hall to discuss something at that particular time during, and would be between lectures, then I'm in Brewer. So, campus passed by. But it's very important that we manage our time. Gentlemen, create time. And the ladies always tell you, Kastompo good day. So actually, create time. And you realize that the person you think is very difficult is not as difficult as you think them to be. Sorry? Like a ripe banana? Doing what? So, but this is what you should also know, that as you begin to incorporate someone else in your life, there is less time for you as an individual. Okay? So the question is that something you're willing to take on? Yeah. Are you ready to take that on? Do not expect your time to still be the same. Happily ever. And then this one. Who said, who did that? Somebody said, who? Money matters. Question. Is it possible for your partner to borrow money from you? Okay, speak up. Where is the other microphone? Members, listen. These are very serious issues. What Eve is saying is it depends. If it is the woman, the word might be lend me, so she's borrowing. But tactfully, she's not borrowing. Now, what about the man? Even if he's saying help me, technically he is borrowing. He should pay back. Eh? Your hand was up. Okay.
Elder,
Yes.
it has two things. And you began with it when you said, when you give someone money, and then the terms are not clear, whether the person has borrowed or given. Yeah? So I think it should be clear if she's borrowing or he's borrowing, should be borrowing and clear. The second one is, you need to learn the person. When he says borrowing, is he really borrowing or is asking? Then if you know he's asking but using the term borrowing, so you know it automatically, this person is asking but he's saying borrowing. The other people may also be, perhaps they are hard with money. Until you say borrow, they will never give. So if you learn it, if you know the tactics, then it works out in that line.
Elder, thank you. I also feel if we are about building confidence and trust, then openness should be a factor. If you really want money and it's not borrowing, why would you take me into a trick that I'm borrowing, yet you're not? I feel trust is something that you have to build, and you have to build intentionally. If it is borrowing, you are borrowing. If you want me to give you money, you sort your own issues, ask for it in the way it should be. I doubt you should confuse someone. That could cause a lack of trust from the beginning point. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, for all those submissions. And this is one of the things that many people in relationships don't want to talk about. They simply assume and learn the implications of this through the behaviors of their partners. The other time he said borrow, but he meant just give me. This time they said this, but this is what they meant. So you end up simply learning it by experience. And sometimes those experiences are painful, because you might be lending money in the hope that it is for a short term. This person is going to pay. After all, I also have my plan, which I have not yet disclosed, but when they pay back, I will disclose, or I will be able to execute my plans. And then it doesn't happen. So you say, as uncomfortable as some of us are with discussing finances, you need to be clear on how you view money with each other. Okay? Otherwise, you might end up donating your tuition. Hey, you're laughing. These things happen. True or false? They happen. Strong story. The young man, the young lady are in a relationship. The lady is getting money from a grandmother in the UK. She's studying here. And out of love, she gives the money to the guy. The guy studies. Three years. Has finished the course. The lady has not finished the course. As a graduate, he wants to marry another graduate. What do you do? How do you respond? The lady was comfortable and committed and convinced that at least if I have not managed to finish this degree, I will have the marriage. The guy can't pay back the money. There is no agreement that I was giving you money for this cause. Be intentional, be careful, talk about these things. Don't just do things for the sake that I'm in love, therefore I can do this. But you're committing your tuition. And who tells you my tuition should be meant to service your interests and not? We need to be careful. 2, there is another danger to it. In discussing money, this is something that happened. I'm just giving you the story in different ways. This gentleman, is helping this lady. Courseworks is done printing. The lady's mother falls sick. The gentleman goes and facilitates the lady's mother to go to hospital, clears the bill. What does that lady think? She believes this person is doing it out of love for her, right? Along the way, the guy says he's dating someone else. Is it clear? So the lady is wondering, all this time I was hanging around you. I believed we were in a relationship. Now you're telling me it is not me. Who is it? All these gestures that involve such huge sums of money, who was it for? What was the intent? He's not asking for a refund. That is the situation. Revolving money. But somebody is mentally attached to you because of what they've gone through with you and money. You get the idea? And now you're telling them, I never had that business with you. But her time has gone. She has missed opportunities because she believed you had her best interests at heart. Now, Eve is there by herself. Henry didn't approach because he thought Chris was steady. Now Chris is saying, me, that was not my plan. Be careful, have open discussions. Yes, Elder.
That for those who are in relationships, let me say you're here. One thing that you need to be open with your friend is to know whether you are in a relationship or you're just in a friendship or situationship or ABCD or partnership. The truth is we might be here. Yes, we might be here and maybe I just like hanging around you. And as far as I know, if you have an issue as a friend, I can be able to give some money to help you. If I hear your mother is sick, maybe you've lost someone in the village, I'll come and be there for you like a friend, as a friend. But within my heart, I don't have any intention of marrying you. But I just find it that we have that close bond with maybe what relates us, or maybe what we have gone through from the time maybe we made it's like a friendship, but a close one. I look at you as a brother, I look at you as a sister. And then now, for me all along, that is what is my intention. and for you, you're perceiving it in a different way. The truth is, they might not be wasting your time, but we need such kind of friends in our life. We need such kind of friends. If you have that kind of a friend who can stand in for you even when you get problems, maybe you don't have tuition or you don't have what, and somebody can come in. Or you have some problems, you don't have what to eat, and somebody can come in. Those are the friends we are talking about. It is true, it can be an opposite sex, or it can be the same sex. It is no problem. But if you have any thought within you, however, somebody, until when they have mentioned it or until when they have opened up, especially to the men, we have that habit as men. We look at you as our sisters, We can really come to you. We can even sacrifice our lunch, our supper to see that, if a sister in church is happy, maybe for some reason or another. But then don't perceive it that you are in a relationship. With a relationship, you must be intentional. That yes, we are following this path. I just wanted to highlight that because
of recent, there is a case in the West over there. There is some gentleman, I think, he did pay for tuition for some lady. And he thought thereafter they would be into marriage. But then the lady had to move out with another guy. So the guy took a case in court, and the case was that the lady had to pay back all what the man had injected in him. Now, I don't know, according to your submission, Elder, it appears most of these you people have got to go and ask for some writing. Yes, this thing should be written. But then it becomes hard sometime in a relationship to tell your spouse to you see, you want to borrow money from me? Then bring a pen and paper, we'll write this. Then and as far as financial literacy is concerned, that's what we are meant to be doing. But when it comes to relationship, Mr. Okuya, you tell the lady too that I'm lending you this money, but you should put it in writing. Then the lady might think that you are not trusting her, things of the kind. Because these people, at times, they expect her to be taking them by their words. Though, I've always heard it being said that when you get money from a spouse, don't expect to be paid back. I've heard this. This is very common. And some of you have seen it with your parents or at home, things of the kind. But anyway, issues to do with the finance, they're not also very easy at times in our homes. All what we have got to do is to have that trust. So when you go into the relationship, make sure you try to do whatever it takes for you to be happy and forever. Thank you, El.
Okay, thank you, Elder, for that insight. And again, like he has highlighted, I don't sit down with my wife and make written agreements. But I'm talking to people who are yet to be married. Please understand what is going on. You see, if you're married, and it is very difficult and can be very embarrassing to go to court and say, my wife or my husband cheated me with this money. And even disgusting to those who are following whatever is going on. But when you're not married, you're not bound to anyone yet. Just be clear on what is happening with money. Do you want to run your money together? That's something you might want to ask. But also the other thing is to plan for the future. You know, a guy might realize if recently bought a plot of land, he does not have the money to buy a plot of land right now. But maybe he has his 10 million right now. Maybe not enough to buy the plot of land he wants, but Eve has it. So you're dating Eve, and since she has the land, you start building. Now you're laughing. And then things go south. So you're asking, so whose house is it? There are assets that each one is bringing. And please don't go there because you want the land. You may get it, you may not get it. So I'm saying, be conscious and have open discussions on these things. How shall we manage our money in the future if we end up married? Do we have a joint account for this? What is our spending culture like? How much do we save? All these are discussions you need to have. And not simply slide into it and things just happen and don't know what is happening. Your husband might even be getting money, but you don't even know the source of the money. These are all issues we're talking about. Don't just look at the exchange between the money, but also need to know, what does my partner do to earn this money? We've asked these kind of questions. There are students who would have money. Yeah? They were rich kids at campus. Yeah? You've had those experiences, or you've seen. Students, you go to a student's, go to his room. Those days there was that hostel, what is it called? Bavana. It had just started. And that time, self-contained rooms and all. And we're like, who's going to pay for these hostels? Semester, it was about 800. Now, that money might, I don't know what's the average expenditure now on hostel fees. What's the average expenditure on hostel for a single room? About 900, 600. I think that time it was less. It must have been about 500. But to put it in context, there was a course, community and adult education in UNICE. Is it still there? Social worker, social administration at UNICE. Do you know how much they were paying as tuition? 450 per semester. There were courses there of 450, 550 per semester. And we're wondering, how does someone go to a hostel and pay 600 per semester? And that is just sleeping. So, but then just appreciate, if you're in a relationship, ask yourself, but where is this money coming from? What if the person is a drug dealer? What if the person is involved in some illicit kind of trade? But you need to have these discussions. So if you're just seeing money and for you you're just enjoying chicken and chips and moving on and saying the person has money, you have no clue what grave you're digging for yourself. Yeah, you know what? This is something that happened. I believe Elder here is maybe privy to the story. But let me say this also off mic. Okay. Katweyongereyo kati ebyo tubireke. We can look at another aspect. While you're in these relationships, learn how to communicate to one another, understand one another's language and how they communicate. There are people who say sorry, and when they are saying sorry, they never say the words. Yeah? There are people who are capable of actually saying, even men, saying, I'm really, really sorry. But there are people who don't say those words. Yet they are sorry. You know how they'll show up? They'll show up at your hostel with an ice cream, your strawberry ice cream. But all the person is saying is, I'm sorry, please. Right? Understand that there is that kind of communication that takes place, and the style or the way of communicating is very, very important. There are people who, when they're angry, they simply shut off. You will call them, they will not pick until they will calm down after 2 days. Then they talk very calmly. Learn one another's communication habits. And see if there are those that are bad, see how to improve. All right? There are fights that happen in relationships. So it is important that you know how to communicate with one another. Many times it is about using words, it's about what. But one person once said that, you see, marriage, it was a phrase in Luganda, obufumbo bigambo. Have you heard that phrase? It's about words that are being exchanged here and there. What you hear, what you say, and all those things. But basically it is communication. How well you handle it. If you're the kind of person who insists that the person should talk to me nicely, and the person has never really known how to talk to people nicely, and maybe they're not even, not that they're not talking nicely, but that is generally how they speak. Yeah? There are people, because of cultural traits. Along with actions, yes. But even with actions, some people do not seem... there was that clip of somebody who was saying, not just some ladies who were discussing and are saying, these men are very crazy. And they were referring to a particular tribe. They were saying, can you imagine? He just told me, I think next weekend we're coming to visit your aunt. Just like that. It was like, it was not even romantic at all. Can you imagine? But he has actually made his declaration and his intention clear. I'm coming to visit your auntie next week. That is Kuchala. By the way he was saying it, to him that is okay. There are people who, because of their maybe cultural attachments and what, by the time somebody says, by the way, I will slap you, the action is already done. Or the action and words are moving together. You say, I can slap you, when actually what he's doing is, I am slapping you. And then you realize, this one, the words and action follow together. Or sometimes the action happens before the words. Others simply give words, they will never act. Others, it is only action. So, research shows that successful marriages have communication strategies. I mean, just like running institutions. If institutions are successful because of communication, what makes you think marriage is any different? We need to have great communication. And then disagreement management, you can't say, look, when you're starting on a relationship, it is all nice, it is all rosy. You can't imagine that you can ever disagree with this person. And that is the imagination you have. But the truth and reality is there will be disagreements. And the question is, when that happens, how do you deal with these disagreements? Let's say for some reason, I just say, I'm not giving you money for hair. How do we handle such a situation? You tell your mother, if I can't provide for you, or I simply declare that I'm tired of providing for you, I'm even quitting my job, how will you handle it? And then there is the common one. Suppose you find that I'm cheating on you. Suppose you do a DNA test. That is now becoming the frequent thing in Kampala. Everyone is rushing to do DNA tests. So what if you do a DNA test and you find the children are not yours? 3 out of 5 are not yours. What happens? You know, these are very important things that you need to prepare for, just in case they happen. Not that they're going to happen. But the reason here is our salvation was not an afterthought by God. The Lord knew, should man sin, this is the solution. So when you read in the book of Genesis, read carefully. Read very, very carefully what the Lord says. Maybe you can turn there just for emphasis. Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3, verse 13. Anyone there? Genesis 3:13. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast? Any other version? That was King James. Another version? New Revised Standard Version. Please read. Then the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that you have done? Read that sentence over and over, and you'll appreciate the gist that the Lord was communicating. Because the plan of salvation set before the foundation of the world was that if man should fall, Christ was the surety. And so when Adam and Eve sinned, the Lord is not simply looking at just the action or the nakedness or the consequence, but is asking, what is this? Because you have set into motion a chain of events that you have no clue about. So deep that he's concerned. What is this that you have done? Because I know Eve is saying, no, the serpent beguiled me and blah, blah. But he's saying it is far more than what you seem to realize is happening. Because by sinning, Christ was crucified. Even before they knew what had happened. Before they recognized what was going to happen, the Lord knew. He knew the cost it was going to cost to redeem man. And so he's asking, what is this that you have done? Even us, in our human relations, we need to plan for that moment of what is this that you have done? Yeah, in quotes, how will you meet it? You know, this is another interesting story. And I hope, you know, because it is online, I don't know who is going to watch it. I don't know who is going to take away whatever lessons they get from this. But there was an instance True story. A father-in-law was suspected that the daughter-in-law might be cheating on the son. And he only had one son, his heir. Huh? He's an old man, well into his 80s. So he's not necessarily looking, only one child, and it's a boy. Boy has this lady, they have about 4 children. The father-in-law is suspicious that this woman might be cheating on my son. When he looks at the children, his grandchildren, he does not quite seem to see the connection with him and other members of the same family. So what did he do? The common thing people are now doing, DNA. Gets the grandchildren, tests them with himself. You know what happens? They are not his grandchildren. Five children. They are not his grandchildren. The guy is livid. Family meeting is convened. These children do not belong to this family. The lady cries her innocence out. Says, please, this, you can't accuse me of anything. After all, this is the only man I have ever known. He got me when I was a virgin. I never slept with anyone else except him. They bring the evidence, DNA, between the grandfather and the grandchildren, and it is indisputable. There is no connection. In her tears and her pain, she conjures up this idea. Let's test the children again. Maybe the lab was wrong. But I had to test the children again and said, okay. And let's test all of them with the father. So they test the children with the father. And against all odds, 99.9, those are his children. Tugende ku birala. You've understood, as adults understand usually. So the what have you done moment comes. He didn't live long. The reason I got to know the story is because they were now in court. And someone else was claiming, this guy cannot be the heir. Somebody else also was now coming in to step in and say, I can be the heir to the late. Because of the conditions surrounding that case. Religion. If you're in a relationship, I know overlays say, date someone you share faith with, religion with. And even when you're in that relationship, please let it be clear what place religion has in your life. It might be quite obvious. It might be something you can brush aside. But I want you to know and appreciate this. Even within this congregation, we've had those situations. where somebody is here, about Seventh-day Adventists. They married Seventh-day Adventists. Some years down the road, the man says, or whoever, they have new light. You've had those situations. So they leave. The question is, what do you do? Where do you go? We've had situations like that. Must your spouse follow your beliefs through and through? Are you going to accommodate someone who believes something else apart from what you believe? Please have open, honest discussions regarding these things. Don't just slide into them and assume it is okay. We shall figure out as we go. These are things you need to know. And realize which ones you're not willing to lose. Are we together? Someone might want today, years down the road, and the person says, I no longer believe in God. What do you do? Is that the end of your marriage? What do you do? Because it's a very sensitive issue, religion. One time I attended a wedding, and at the ceremony, somebody said, one of the family members, because they said, and they were telling the lady, that you see, you left our religion, and you joined another religion. But promise us that one of the children is going to return to our religion. And they were asking the couple at the high table to state can be tough because these are your parents asking you. I know for you left, we've allowed you to leave, but promise that one of your children is going to come back to us. What do you do? Some things seem light until they hit home that it is actually possible. But your parents are have expectations of their grandchildren as well. Discuss career decisions. Huh? In a relationship, you're at campus, it's easy because you're all here at Kyambogo, you're all here for now. But then, after you leave university, things change. Like some of us, we do not work because the work does not come to us. Those in the engineering profession, those in oil and gas, you go where the work is. So, you met at Kyambogo. You've been happy to be around Kyambogo. And then tomorrow, there's a dam being built in Karamoja. So you go to Karamoja. We are doing oil and gas exploration in Kotido. That's where you go. Right? You want to go for oil and gas exploration, and the minimum duration is about 2 years. So you're going to Oman. Oman is a country in the Middle East. That's where you're going to be best. And then the person is here because the person is a doctor. The hospital is across the road. So they expect to be here and go to the station across the road. Now you don't realize those things until they begin to happen. That actually, it is possible for that to be a deal breaker. Yeah? But even then, there are other situations where somebody is working night shift And then they realize the person works very well in night shift. So during the day, the person is available. For you saying, I'm going to work. Night shift, the person is going to work for you around. So you're asking, how do we consummate this relationship? How will it work out? Careers. Somebody is getting married and their plan is, I want to do a master's by this time. By this age, I should have finished a second master's. Maybe I have my professional certifications. I'm working on my PhD. And you're working on how do I fit in all these things? You know, there are also professional students. Of late, there are professional students. People who are always, not SCCA, there are people who are always studying. People who are always studying. After this course, 2 months, another course. After that one, maybe short term, 2 weeks, come back. Whether it is in computing, handwriting, blah, blah. And I'm like, at what point does this person stop studying? Because they always have something they're studying. And it is their passion. They always want to study. And so you need to discuss and negotiate on how you will handle these things in your relationship and the marriage. Don't just slide into it, please. Don't just find yourself into a situation where things are happening and you realize, please plan. Appreciate that. We all need personal development, but this is the extent we can contribute to personal development. If I am earning, I'll also contribute to your personal development in terms of the course you want to study. But there have to be guidelines amongst us or between us. They're not written anywhere, by the way, but they're agreed upon intellectually and emotionally and executed as planned. So keep in mind that this can happen, but do not let it derail the family or the relationship. And then this one, our final thing is, would like us to consider premarital counseling. For those of you who want to get married, for those of you who intend to get married, like I said at the beginning, don't just slide into marriage. Be intentional. Consider seeking counseling. It will open you up to ideas on how to deal with one another that you might not easily have considered before. And it's not a waste of your time. And you see, counseling requires that there are 2 people present. There is something I was watching where the man was telling the wife, okay. Anyway, it was in those days. We may have had this in high school when somebody said, now even, I hope I don't say it in a very bad way and you don't misinterpret what I'm saying, but the person was saying, you have a wife who you do not want necessarily to relate with when she's pregnant. So, the phrase was, they had learned that from their fathers, I don't know from others or from their neighbors, that when they are going for antenatal, father would say, genda nakusanga yo. Like, you go, I'll find you, I'm coming. And they're saying, you're going even for premarital counseling, and you tell the person, you go, I will come along, I'll find you there. Because they're not going to counsel him, and then she comes later for her own session. It is the 2 of you at the same time. Yeah? So it takes effort, it takes commitment. Don't leave it to one party to carry the burden. And then there is the one statement I want to make finally is, from the Christian and the biblical perspective, marriage is a covenant. Amen? Now, we don't often hear that word being mentioned, that it is a covenant. But a covenant is not just a relationship, an engagement, or an arrangement. In a covenant, when you covenant with someone, you do not bring two equal people to an agreement in a covenant relationship. In an agreement, you need two parties that are willing, that have equal bargaining rights within their space. For example, we have proposed construction of our toilet facility, which is going to take place there. So Kyambogo Sda Church wants to construct a toilet facility. Now we need a contractor. And we need to sign an agreement or a treaty. It is assumed that the contractor and Kyambogo Sda Church as the client have equal bargaining rights in their own way. You're the client, you say, I have my money. The contractor says, yes, you have your money, now may I have my expertise. Yes, I must know to execute what you want. So now let's discuss as to equal parties. And then sign on what we are going to do. In a marriage, that's not how things work. Because a marriage is a covenant relationship. Similar to the covenant relationship God made with Abraham, God made with Adam. God and Adam were not equals. God and Abraham were not equals. God covenanted with Abraham even though he was far superior to him. So it is not a case of two equal parties. It is a case of one party willing to sign on the dotted line, promising themselves that they will execute the agreement regardless of how the other person is behaving. Is that clear? When you're entering into a marriage, please realize that you're entering into a covenant relationship. It might be that it is the man or the woman who has made the bigger covenant. Don't assume it is the man. Don't assume it is the man. It can be the other way around. Haven't you heard of situations where man is a womanizer, he has all these children all outside wedlock, but the woman has gone ahead to sign on the dotted line? You think that's not a sacrifice? That this man is a drunkard, this man is a womanizer, but I will still love him, regardless of how he has chosen to behave. When a man is signing into marriage, he's signing into a covenant. There might be other women who will look better, who might be more appealing, but this is the one I have chosen to covenant with. We are not coming into this as equals that I have more money, or I have this worth, you have this worth, so I think we can be together. No. It might be that you're the richest man in the world. This woman is of an unknown estate and heritage. But in a marriage, the two of you have covenanted you now equals. It's not about your money. It's not about your bank statement. It's not about how many lands you have. You vow in a covenant. In an agreement, you simply sign off, treaty, there is no vow. So, please understand that even in your little beginnings, you are beginning something big. Something that only God I wish I would say that louder. Only God can consummate in time. Not just you, But as you're entering into these relationships, as you engaged in these relationships, please be conscious that you do not just waste your time or waste another person's time. Be intentional about it. The failure to understand many of these things is what leads into marital failure, because you only realize in marriage that, how did I miss this? These are the experiences I've had from people who are getting challenges within 2-3 years of their marriage. How? Maybe you remember the one of those people. This guy marries a very beautiful lady from here. They were both here at Kyambogo. Having issues. So I ask how. How? Because they did not understand, I believe, the dynamics of the covenant they were trying to get into. Many relationships ruined like that. You've wasted your time, your resources, but you also wasted another person's. That is the biggest pain, that you're not just wasting your time, you're also wasting somebody else's time and their resources. Yes. Thank you. No, he's serious. It is not just time, it is the life. You know how? Let me elucidate further on what I've understood from his comment. You're wasting somebody's life. You know why? If, and God forbid, you've had to date someone within this congregation, 2, 3, 4 years, we've seen you together, and then you break up, what happens? Do you think there is someone within this congregation who wants to date that same person you've broken up with? So do you understand the pain you've caused? It seems obvious, it seems quite basic, but gentlemen, that is a very painful state to leave someone in. And also the other way, before you get in, why I'm saying that is the life for the lady, but also for the gentleman, for whatever reason. You know what people start thinking? I think this guy is not serious. Kasalawo. You understand that language? You don't seem to be a determined person or a serious person. Now, that tag that you don't seem to be serious or determined is not a tag you can easily wave off. People will think of you that way for a very long time. You understand that? You get the idea that that reputation that they have tagged to you at that moment, whether carefully or recklessly, is not something you will easily do away with. So don't waste your life. Don't waste your time.
Yes, there's a depth of a covenant. A covenant is sealed with death or life. That's why when God was covenanting with Abraham, they slaughter animals and they say, if this covenant ever gets broken, the person who has broken the covenant, he follows the same path of the animals that have died. So when God was covenant with Abraham, if you read there, God waited until Abraham was asleep, and the animals were cut. So it's only God who walked through, such that if he's failing, he is the one to fall the death. I don't know if you get, because Abraham, a human being, would fall short, may fall short of the covenant. But God made sure Abraham was asleep, and he did pass alone, such that it is all on his head, alone, as an individual. Now, when a covenant is broken, it's not repaired by repentance, that you go and you repent. No, it means death. It means death. The one who has broken the covenant, just that's why the elder asked the question that, do you know what it means when when God told Eve, what is this you have done? If you have not prepared for that question, it's better you don't covenant. Because, okay, just imagine, like one of the examples elders gave, that you want your spouse, you have done a DNA test after you covenanted, and the kids are not yours. What do you do next? Nobody answered that question, but I have an analogy to it. I don't know if I should answer. Let me give you a situation. The rats lived and discovered that they had an enemy. And the enemy was the cat. The cat is eating the rats. So they just discovered, okay, for to survive this enemy, the problem, what he does, he tiptoes, I will never hear him. So let's put a bell around his neck. But now think with me together. Which cat is brave to put the bell? Yes, which rat is brave to put the bell on the neck of the cat? So that when he's tiptoeing, they hear him. If you can answer putting the bell on the cat, then you can covenant. If you can answer putting the bell on the cat, then you can covenant. That's why God covenanted, because he had put the bell on the cat. Remember when elders say that our salvation was not pre-planned when man fell. It was designed before man was made, before the earth was made. So that if man ever falls, the question is asked, what is this you have done? Because you are going to invoke that insurance plan. I think
Okay, thank you. So that's a very good analogy that you've used there. So which rat is going to deliver the bell around the neck of the cat? It sounds like a very brilliant idea until you realize the sacrifice that is involved. Yesterday I was reading a story close to it, and it is a story of the chicken and the pig, that they were concerned about how their master was doing, and they wanted to improve his health. And they're saying, yeah, we can improve his health for sure. And they had proposed what to contribute. So the chicken said he would contact the cow to give some milk, and as a chicken, he would provide the eggs. And they said, I think we can also provide some bacon for our master. And the pig said, that's a brilliant idea. But while you're getting the milk and providing the eggs, for the bacon to be there, my neck has to go. Yeah? It's a good idea, but it requires sacrifice. It is intentional, guys and ladies. To one of our retreats, and the elder who was celebrating 30 years in marriage shared this, that, marriage is like having a basket where you go and pick things from. Right? You want something, go to the basket, pick it. I think the question is, where are the things in the basket coming from? Who is putting them there? Yes, you can go and pick, but for you to pick, you must have invested in that basket. Okay? Such that you can continually pick. Otherwise, if you're only picking and not putting there, chances are one day you might go there and find there is nothing in the basket. So invest in those relationships. And we've looked at ways of doing that. I hope we've been blessed. It has been a long day today, specifically, and let me just give you this because you might lose sight of the discussion was on premarital insights and all that. But look, it is the gospel. Because even when we are going to those Bible study centers, that's what we are trying to introduce people to. That there is a covenant God who invites them. There is a covenant God who wants their time. And it is lifelong. Either he dies or they die. But he already died for them. And he's immortal. So if it is either he dies or they die, who is at the risk of dying now? Is the sinner. The more reason we need to snatch them before they slip into that death. Are we together? Thank you so much. Thank you for this evening. To our online audience, thank you for participating with us. And may you be blessed as we go into another week and the engagements that will be starting next Sabbath on the 24th.